Okay. I feel like I am live on the Facebook, and I think that you are too. Every
Live
now and
on
then,
the
I like
Facebook.
it to have little French accent. Little French accent. Not big, not big, not. What's the French word? But un
Un
petit.
petit peu. Un
Un
petit peu.
petit. What's the one for large, for big?
Grande. Oh no, that might be Spanish.
That's Starbucks,
Grande.
yeah. All right, man. Just 1 second here. We're almost ready to jump. I was saying beforehand that I try not to talk too much to Granter while we're getting going because I want to have our catch up live.
Live on Facebook.
We're live on Facebook here. Josh Coleman and Grant Hatcher. Like people just going absolutely fucking mental. How are you, man? There you go. That's all. Everything's sorted. We're all good to go. How you going, man?
Sweet. I'm good, man. I'm a little tired right now. Just kind of like it was a nice day today. It was really sunny, so I just outside walking around a little bit today. You know what I mean? And spring is in the air in Halifax, so that's been nice. I'm thinking about getting.
I'm always getting you to come on so late at night, just because this is the
timing situation.
Yeah, it's just this is the only time where we can go. Okay, Australia and Canada are all in here. It's the only. Every other time frame doesn't really work like that. So, dude, I've had such an interesting experience. You know, I don't normally watch these things back because anything I'm doing that's a little more vulnerable, I'd rather not. Like, it just for me.
I know what you mean.
Just don't look at it. Just put it out there. You know, you did your best. It might not be perfect, but you did your best. And the other day, it was actually baked as fuck. And I was sitting there at nighttime. And I was just sitting there all baked. I was like, I'm gonna watch a couple of them just to see. And it was really interesting because I feel, hey Ruth, how you doing? It was really interesting because when I was looking at it, I could really see what I'm bringing to the table. I was like, yeah, man, fuck, I'm bringing a really cool thing. There's a casual conversation. There's lots of insights. There's lots of good stuff. But I could also see moments where I myself was bored. Like I was like, oh, just come on, dude, just keep going. Get on with it. And what I kind of realized though, and this is what Lily and I are in the middle of undertaking, is how can we take these hour-long, raw, unprocessed footage and turn them into little 2, 3, maybe 5-minute clips.
That's what Joe Rogan does, right, with his stuff. That's how I got into Joe Rogan. That's exactly how I got into Joe Rogan. Like, I'm not a big Joe Rogan fan. I've never sat down to watch a Joe Rogan podcast, but I'll see it's like Joe Rogan and Elon Musk smoke a joint. I'm like, well, that's kind of funny. Like, I want to check that out. It's only like 3 minutes, you know what I mean? So you check it out. So it's like, but then he has so many good people on there, but maybe you don't want to commit, but you want to hear this part of that conversation in that clip. So that sounds like it's what you got to do.
That is exactly what I got to do. And it's funny because that seems like a no-brainer. Because if you look around, that's what everybody's doing. That's actually good at this. They produce. And my whole thing also is I've had this really strong thing where I was like, I want things unproduced. I want realness in our world. So I want to be able to present realness, you know, like that's been such a high drive for so long. But then recognizing that I can have both. So that was a duality I created in my mind, right? It's either going to be completely unprocessed and therefore real, or made up and not real and inauthentic. And I guess I'm just like, my own brain is rectifying that duality by realizing, first of all, we get to go on here and we get to chat just like normal for a whole hour. So we have like entire, at this point, probably like 50 hours worth of raw footage. And doing that live in front of all my friends and people that I love. That's fucking cool. It's going to include mistakes. It's going to include stumbles. It's going to include things that I then look at and go, that's not fully true. That seemed true when I was saying it, but it's not fully true. But then when it's time to move things outside of the circle, to be able to refine it. So I was like, in my mind, basically, I'm going through a cool process of being able to recognize the value of doing this unfiltered work, but then also the value of then cleaning it the fuck up so that it's presentable for the world.
That's great, man. No, that's great. That's a great model. Honestly, it's a great model.
And to be honest enough with myself too, like I'm watching the videos and I'm like, you didn't have to say it like that. Like there's like the times where I've got anger inside of me, for example, because I'm pissed off about something, and it comes out almost defensively. I'm like, well, they're not allowed to tell me what to do anyway because I'm doing this. And like Lily's pointed it out a couple times. She's like, you know, you do get a little intense on like the new age people a little bit sometimes. And I'm like, what? Well, I have to, because like sometimes they can be annoying. And I'm like, yeah, okay. but sometimes I
Yeah.
can be annoying. So like it is
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's
Not
been a
like
real
we're just projecting our own things, you know, all the time.
exactly. And it's funny to even know that though, to have those points of awareness that that's what's happening, and then also still experience that. You know, like that's the that's the kicker.
Oh man, yeah, that's the funniest thing. It's like I just have this agreement now that every single thing I teach in this world, I am meant to do it as well, because it's like I can only really teach what works, or if what I need. You know what I mean? Like we can only echo who we are and what we are, and it's like a lot of these things help lots of other people too. But it's like I need to listen to this all the time. Like, and I just made an agreement to like always check in, like now more than ever, because it's like, oh wait, I need to listen to this again right now. You know what I mean? And it's like it's pretty cool. It's pretty neat. Yeah.
Yeah, fuck yeah, man. And again, that's also growing out loud, right? It's like growing and
Yeah.
evolving publicly, which is also different. When you think about it, actually, things were not released. Like think about like a movie star from 10, 20 years ago, or a spiritual teacher from 10, 20 years ago, or anybody, a doctor. You're not just going to
Yeah.
tell your thoughts. You don't say your thoughts online for fuck's sakes. Like people will take them and they'll hurt you with them. And
Yeah.
that was like that's the way our whole world was. Everyone was very protective, and still I feel that coming up in me when I felt anxiety when I was watching it back the other day. I was like, oh, should I be protecting myself? Should I be like making
Yeah.
sure this is on
Yeah.
lockdown? And then I'm like, no, that's the whole thing. That's the whole teaching. This is what I'm continually doing. But then thinking about like, yeah, it just that would not be the case. There would be no time in this world where people would just be like, well, I think this and well, I think that. But because of this internet platform that we all have, we all started doing it. And at first it was almost like, oh shit, I don't know if everyone should be sharing their stuff. There's a bunch of racists.
Yeah. Well, we were terrified. Remember me and you were like, it was me and you did it, you know, broke the seal.
Yeah, terrified,
Yeah.
man, terrified. I used to think that people were going to come on and be like, you're a piece of shit and I hope you die. And at this point, like, hopefully it doesn't happen. But at this point, if they did, I'd be like, okay, well, let's work with that. You know, like
Oh man,
I have been a piece
I had
of
somebody
shit.
share. Sorry to cut you off, man. I had somebody share my water fountain video the other day, or comment on it. So I shared it, just saying like, haha, good thing I figured out how to like not do this 3 years ago, because I was conscious enough that like this could be a bad thing to share right now. And sure enough, man, somebody had seen it and they like shared it like, fucking millennials can't believe it, like during this time they shared it. I just didn't even say anything, man. I was just like, I don't even care. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Are they saying that you shouldn't have made a joke because it's this
Yeah,
time?
they were like, look at this idiot like going around, like especially during these times when there's the sickness going around, all this stuff, and it's like, what? Look, who are we leaving the hands of the world in, and stuff like that. It was really funny.
The fun
I
and
felt
the,
no attachment to it though. I felt no attachment. I was just like, great, I don't care at all. I didn't comment. I didn't. I almost laughed at it.
Man.
That was it. I didn't.
Congratulations. That's really
Thank you, man.
awesome.
Thank you. I think it's because that video itself has gone a little, you know, like it's got like, so it's like, I was like, this video's already proved itself, motherfucker. Back up.
That joke video of you trying to drink out of the water fountain only built for water bottles is one of my favorite in the whole world.
Yeah, it's just so silly, man. It's just so silly. And like,
but one also other thing is that like obviously if a person's saying you millennials, they must be not millennials, and that means they must be older than 35 years old, because I'm on the very tip of millennialism, and I'm
imagine
35.
it's just like, Luna got the phone. She's like, what you guys fucking doing? You goddamn millennials.
You probably will, man. That Luna, my daughter Luna is a sassy fucking cat, man. Like I don't think
Yeah.
like sometimes she comes out with stuff and I'm just like, I can't believe you just said that to me. I would be offended if you weren't just so fucking cute. And so the thing is though, is that, and there's a lot of people I can see literally up here, like heaps of people that are not millennials. In other words, people in their 40s and 50s that are watching right now. And I appreciate the fuck out of everybody, but it's hard for me to fathom the idea that we should be so scared and in so much pain that there should be no humor. That's one thing that if you look historically as well, things start to slip without humor. And we go through lows where we don't have that humor, right? We go through lows, we go through moments where we're like, okay, shit's hard, there's a war happening, anything, like our village is being eaten by tigers. There's so many reasons not to be in laughing modes, but it is the relief of humor after a hard event, or even during a hard event, depending, can be one of the most healing things that exists, because when we laugh, we relax our nervous system. When we laugh, the dopamine and the happiness genes go in here, and then as we both know, like if like for me personally, if I'm dealing with personal issues, which I've got plenty, when I'm dealing with them, if I can do it with humor, it just heals so much better and so much faster. It
Oh
becomes a
man,
fun story to play with, you know?
how many times have we been like in a mess, both of us, about one thing or the other, and then we just it instantly just die laughing at the mess. You know what I mean? We're just like laying there, like making jokes at it, making jokes about it. You know what I mean? Like you just have to. It's like, and you know, same thing, man. Like I've had some like shitty things in my life happen to me. A lot of people know about, but it's like I still joke about those things sometimes with the right people. Like you know what I mean? It's almost it's just like it takes the edge off of everything, man. It's like humor's important, and like you got to give comedians, like people who are really like, this is what I'm doing, I'm going to be a comedian. You got to give them credit when they go out after the edge and like tactfully try to walk it, man. It's like good on them, man, for putting themselves out there in that way. Like that's all. I don't know. It's like, yeah, I was like getting up close and personal at water fountains, and like that was edgy to some people. So like, what people are actually doing, and saying.
It was interesting. Just to touch on this a little bit, I did with Anthony, and we were talking the other day too. I actually bought and watched Louis C.K.'s new special off his website, and it's interesting because I also put a very discreet post on Facebook that just said, "Hey, just to let you know, it's on there. Do with that information what you will, because if like
yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
we're meant to hate him, right? Now, without going too far into this, because it's such a huge subject, I am not trying to say that anything that he did was right. I'm not trying to say that anybody who is a sexual offender should be supported. We shouldn't be like, well, I love this man even though he's doing the Bill Cosby, bro. Yeah, no, like it's all gone, right? So it's not about a blanket statement of every sex offender is a good person and I support sex offenders. That'd be fucking crazy.
yeah.
However, in this one circumstance, knowing his personal struggles, knowing that it's come out through comedy his entire life, and knowing that shame, sexual shame, and pain has been with him forever. Like you can just see it in his comedy, and you can see it in his face, for fuck's sakes. Like he is a man who struggles on this area. And in his experience of fucking things up, and also of being a public presenter, and also of now having to do some sort of comeback, I was just genuinely curious. Like, how are you going to do that, man? And the only thing I would say is I wish he was this much more vulnerable, because some of the stuff that he said did address it in a kind of a fun way and kind of a cool way, and it involved humor. But if he could also just say, I fucked up.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry for it. If he just said just that, no explanations, no nothing, and then continue with the jokes and then play on, it would have been a lot better. Go on Joe Rogan, motherfucker. Just go on Joe Rogan. You have avenues. There are people that would have you.
He might still, man. He might still. Who knows?
I think
who knows? And I think like, man, at the end of the day, we all want to see somebody be able to change. You know what I mean? Even if we hate them, you know what I mean? Even if they've done terrible things, we all root for that person, even if at some point we might have hated them, like. So, man, I remember posting, I don't know what it was. I don't know what we're talking about, but it was like, we were talking, and this is controversial, but it's like, what do we do about like child predators, basically? You know what I mean? Like, what if there was a place where somebody had those feelings, they could go actually talk to somebody and feel safe about it, you know what I mean? And like, they could do something to prevent this. Like, how do you prevent these things, because it's like, these people can't go anywhere and say that. So maybe they're keeping it in all the time because they can't say it anywhere. So people are going to literally kill them, you know what I mean? Potentially. So it's like, then these things end up happening,
The words, if it's mentionable, it's manageable.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, I mean, I have no idea what the answer is in that situation, but the current situation is obviously not working because these things are happening. So it's like, how do we, so it's like, but it's like almost even I feel a little scared to say what I just said like that. I could feel the collective just being like, oh, you're a pedophilia supporter, aren't you? Or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, just because it's like, it's such an intense thing.
That all goes to show, first of all, trauma, like legit historical current trauma. And then also the desire to work in groupthink. We believe this and you believe that. We're going to find the enemy that doesn't feel the way that we do. There's going to be the good people and the bad people. We've got evil versus good. We've got bad versus good. That particular paradigm also, unfortunately, stops us from having very uncomfortable and awkward conversations and situations. Right. And like again, I just want to say the words, if it's mentionable, it's manageable. If it's mentioned, let's take that out of the context of pedophiles, one of the most polarizing, painful subjects in the whole world, and put it into any context. If we just sat for 1 minute and just thought about something that was slightly irritating or painful, or that we were unable to even fully say out loud ourselves, how much harder is it to deal with? Like how much harder is it to deal with something if we don't feel safe to express it? And again, we're not talking about really big monstrous things right now. We're talking about even little things, like maybe an upset that we have with our mom, or a feeling of lack of love being received from a partner, or the irritation that we feel with a best friend, or whatever. Like if we can't talk about it, then it will continue, and it gets driven further into the shadows. And I don't think everything has to be all public. I don't think everything has to be talked about even to everybody. Like that's like this other thing, like we're living in an authenticity society, so everyone needs to say everything about everything all the time. It's like, well, calm the fuck down, okay? Like our ability to process involves layers, and involves levels of safety. It involves so much that it's impossible to just throw it on just as a blanket statement. But if it is mentionable, it is manageable. And if that includes just even journaling or diaries, if it's something you just can write down yourself, and it starts to be mentionable. And the more comfortable we get, and the more neutral we feel on a certain issue, the easier it is to speak about.
And it's just, it's like, it's scientifically proven too, like when you get something out, it just changes it. It just changes how you feel about it. It's not bottled up in there anymore. You know what I mean? One of the most therapeutic techniques is to just journal, because you're getting anything out. It could be small, like you said. It could be like, oh my God, like I scratched my nose today, and I thought the girl who I think is cute thought I was picking my nose. You write that out instead of it bouncing around in your head all this time. You know what I mean? You're like, okay, I got it. It's probably not a big deal. You know what I mean? Like, okay, so it's like that, and you use.
And then if you do feel totally neutral, you could even go up to her and be like, "Yo, this thing happened."
Yeah.
And then it actually opens up a cool dialogue as well.
Right.
It becomes like a real exchange.
Right. And that's how you get more comfortable too with those things in the moment. You're just like, oh, it's just we're all just kind of playing this weird game. We all get insecure. All these things happen. You know what I mean? So it's like, again, about letting those things flow as best we can.
And I gotta say, yeah, in my own life, and you kind of met me on the precipice of this, I still had tendencies towards this previous version of protective layers, and then also I'm opening up into being more vulnerable. I'll be able to say that 5 years about now too, like I'm getting more and more open as we go.
Yes.
But I feel like that fear of vulnerability, I actually had something completely different to say and I just lost
it. Alan Watts says a lot of things.
Do you want to tell that story?
Oh man, so Josh and I were driving to Cape Breton, and we left late. We left at like 12 o'clock and from Halifax, which is like, so we were going to arrive around 5 o'clock in the morning or something like that, something crazy. And so I was driving because I know the way, and like Josh was being a good driver mate, like staying up with me. And it was like, I knew I was good to drive, but it was just like, I need to focus on my driving like 100%. And we're, when you get in that weird state when like you're tired, and Josh is trying to stay awake and to keep me awake and stuff like that. And I had said something, and Josh, like trying to continue the conversation, goes, yeah, to Alan Watts says a lot of things. And you just see your face like completely forget what we were just talking about. And I forgot what I just said. And then we just died laughing. We had no idea what we were talking about anymore. And just like
just getting messy, just being messy humans together, hey?
Yeah. I love that moment though. That happens like a bit, like when you're just talking with somebody, like what did I just say? Like, I don't know what you just said. And then it's like, if you don't get it quick enough, it's gone. It's just like in the ether. It's like, yeah. You got about 30 seconds, man. You got your short-term memory. It's like it hangs out for about 30 seconds. If you don't transfer it into long-term somehow, it's gonzo.
Interesting. So that's what I've been doing using my phone calendar. And it's to the point where I'm almost a bit nervous because like I don't even know how to use my regular memory anymore. At the same time, I don't know if it's actually sustainable to even try to do that. Sometimes I have like 10 bullet points per day, and scheduled meetings and session work and these live streams. And it's like, without being very organized to commit everything that's coming as an inspiration into something long-term, I actually feel like it doesn't even really sit for very long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not there long at all, man. And especially this day and age when our grasping ability, it seems a lot weaker, man. It's like 3-second videos. You know what I mean? We're scrolling. You know, we're like, what's catching us quick? You know, it's like.
Imagine, I genuinely wonder, because it doesn't give you the specs on these videos, like who watches it from start to finish. Like, comment. I bet you, Jody, my love, if you're here, I bet you do. Sarah, I believe, would come in on quite a few of them. Arizona's watching us right now, but she came in late. You know, like, not that that's a problem. Who the fuck wants to be on our schedule? Ruth, I have a feeling, is in there quite a bit too, and I really appreciate that. But it's probably very, very rare. If you were to look, in fact, my mother-in-law has a YouTube channel where she reads books called Nana Kate's Corner, and
Oh, really?
And my father-in-law checks out all the Google statistics or whatever, and it's something silly, man. Like 85% only watch the first 30 seconds. You know, like
Oh yeah, it's wild, man. That's like a view on Facebook is considered 3 seconds.
that's when they count it as a view.
That's a view. Yeah.
Interesting. Good to know.
So like, you know, a lot of our views and things are actually like down, you know what I mean? But like,
for sure. No fucking way. My suggestion is the same way that I do it. If you were able to actually click through, like just like pop in different spots and just kind of catch a wave. And if there's a wave to go into it. And if there's not, just keep on moving along. That's the way that I typically do this.
Yeah.
Arizona says, I'm sorry, I didn't know what time you start. Just catch the lives in my newsfeed. Of course. Of course. That was an example of maybe because we have that closeness, we would have a chance to watch the whole thing. But again, how do you know what's going to start? I could put a fucking Facebook event for every single day, sometimes twice. But
so much work, man. It's so much work. Facebook's model is it's just missing so much. That's something to think about. You know,
if only there was some sort of cohesive website that we could create ourselves. Me and Granter and another friend are in the process of creating a website for this type of thing, and we're literally looking at the flaws in all the other systems to see if we can make something better. So let's leave it at that. So if you know any investors that are interested in something like that,
anybody who's got a lot of money and like.
That's the only thing, is that it does take, it's not just as easy as just making a Wix website, you know, like we're talking about incredible infrastructure will require. Luke Marpa came on to say scary stuff. I'm assuming that's in regards to attention span and how little we have. Does anyone else want to join in the conversation? Please feel free to say whatever you're feeling, whatever's going on. Mokabara just came in. What's up, bro?
No.
Yeah, so what have you been up to anyway? Like, what's your general, what have you been going through anything on an inner level? I have a couple things that I'd like to share. But I thought
let me see here. Just trying to like, it's always just about trying to find the balance, man, with like working on this business plan. As you know, I'm working on this business plan, and you know how fun it is to work on a business plan. And it's like, but then like committing to sit down a little bit. And when I do get rolling, like I do have that part of myself that I'm like, oh, I kind of like this. Like, but to get to that spot, it's like, you know, I get in there and I do it for a day, and then the next day it's like, no, I just don't want to do this right now because it's so shitty. And it's like,
also you're at the hardest part, because I was able to come in and help for that first 60%, which is the fun bit, you know, like it's colorful, it's playful, and now it's the numbers. And like I'm sorry for the fact that I'm not there with you in this particular moment.
Oh man, that's no problem. It's like, I know this is like what I can contribute, so it's like, no, I want to do this and I want to be a part of it. But it's like, and it's like I just use that as an example, and it's like I could be doing more with my I could be working on my own website. I could be promoting my meditations more. I could be, you know, going live more, you know what I mean? But then it's also just like, just trying to find the balance of like, I just don't want to do anything right now in this moment, you know what I mean? And like spending a lot of me time just being with me, man, and just honoring, and like I said, applying everything that we talk about, you know what I mean? And just applying it deeply, and just peeling back some layers, but then just chilling as well. I'm really excited.
Check it out. I bet you that's where the gurus get all fucked up, because if they're teaching all the time, morning to night, constantly, when do you have time to actually practice any of this? You know, like when are you tested outside of the bounds of the power situation you've created to actually have to be challenged and pushed into that, you know, like
right. 100%, especially like I was watching Wild Country. I watched that for the first time, and it's like Osho was just put up on a pedestal, man. It was like he had part of him was just like a 7-year-old boy almost, where he, because like you could tell he got his way all the time. And so like, you know, so it's like, he was inflappable, you know what I mean? Which, you know, there comes great power when you give that to anybody. So it's
Did
like,
you just say inflappable?
I did.
That's the cutest thing I ever
Right?
heard in my life. Imagine a duck that just couldn't flap its wings. It's just like, you are inflappable, bro.
You're inflammable. Yeah, that's an insult, I think. Yeah, I
I'm
think
inflappable,
inflammable is,
motherfucker.
yeah.
Infappable would be worse. Um, so, so yeah,
Oh my
Osho,
God.
actually, the whole case of Osho and the whole experience is really fascinating, very much like how we brought up Louis C.K., because again, I can see a lot of really beautiful and a lot of really dark shit in what that man created, you know, like the teachings were, for their time, probably the most summarized, straightforward teachings of mysticism that one could receive. The reason they still hit me so hard, if I read an Osho quote in just the right way and just in my openness, I'm like, fuck, it actually changes my body, because the transmissions of universal energy were so strong. But on the other hand, we're also human beings, very much lending ourselves to making mistakes, and very much in positions where it takes like this much. I was talking about this in a live stream, that we are this close from self-sabotage at any moment. I think that's
Oh,
true
at any
as
moment.
individuals and as a society. We're this close. And
Yeah.
so imagine having all that power too, and imagine getting older and like all the vulnerabilities that come with that, but then not being able to address that because I'm a pure being. I am a
Yeah.
spiritual essence, and so you're not able to actually address some of those human frailties. And then what
Yeah.
happens, those human frailties need to be overcompensated somehow, and then suddenly it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and the
Bigger,
story and the
bigger,
power
bigger.
becomes more complex until eventually, boom, it's a fucking shit show. There's actual guns and germ
Guns.
warfare is what happened in the Osho situation. Guns
Yeah. It's
and
wild,
poison
man.
people.
Yeah. It's interesting enough though that like the big fight that caused it all was because people were uncomfortable with what they were doing, and they were pretty chill, kind of just doing their own thing at first, you know what I mean? Like, even though they were going wild near these people, they were on their land going wild, you know what I mean? So it was like they weren't harming anybody, so it's like the fight was brought to them. So but then they
we
chose to
we
fight
we
back, which
caught a
I
taste of
respect.
that. We caught a taste of that ourselves, man. Not anything even
Oh
near as
man, yeah, it was.
drastic.
I was just like, it was almost like I was just taking notes. It's like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. This seems, you know what I mean? It's like,
When
because if
we
you really think about it, they had a really beautiful place there, man. They had a lot of really beautiful things going on. It was just like you said, it got top heavy and toppled, you know, and it was like. So I think as we go forward, it's like, how can we learn about those places and then not make those same mistakes? You know what I
Could
mean?
you actually,
Because
for people watching right now, could you explain what that top heavy and topple situation is?
it's just basically if like kind of the power structure and the dynamic gets too heavy up at the top. It's almost like any religion usually has like puts their priests up here and stuff like that, but it gives them too much power and take away too much from the bottom, because like almost like you can't communicate with God, you got to communicate to these people, you know what I mean? It just gets, the power dynamic gets so crazy that it doesn't have any balance there. So the top has no base basically, and it's all up here. It just becomes, it's like Jenga, man. You start, you know what I mean? Let's keep adding to the top, but you're not supporting anything down here. And the
In
person
that
at the top
Jenga,
begins to go crazy. They begin to think, oh, they begin to believe, oh, I am the answer here. You know what I mean? I am the one, you know, and
in that
it's
same
bound.
Jenga analogy, then as people in the bottom start being disillusioned, being like, fuck this person, they start to
Yeah,
pull out. That's your
yeah,
bottom pulling out, right? And then your bottom start to pull out, you
yeah,
get more wobbly, you're like, I'll do anything to keep you in there. I'll say
yeah,
anything I have to, you know,
yeah,
like shit is
yeah.
wild at that point.
I think that's happening with Christianity right now, and I think the Pope is just finally just being like, it's okay to be gay. It's like he's finally taking the other route now. He's like just admitting the opposites now, finally, you know? So it's like, as somebody, I was raised as a Catholic, so I went to the church, like church was packed when I was a kid, man. And now it's empty. It's like nobody goes anymore. So like, it's really interesting to watch. Some places there still are, you know, but it's really interesting.
Yeah, totally. And again, let's take the good parts from that, because the good part about church is community, connection to God, connection to each other, service to each other, all that kind of stuff. Take that, and then put serious motherfucking boundaries on. Don't give till you hurt yourself. That's dumb. Don't
Right.
again put. Don't make a false idol, which again is a Christian teaching, ironically. In other words, don't make an idol out of a person and assume that that's actually God.
Yeah.
Like, it's just funny because if they actually followed the teaching, probably would have been all right too. Like, like
But that's the thing. How are you going to get up here and teach something and then not follow it? That's what I'm saying. And that's how blatant, you know what I mean? So it's like, it goes back to what I said earlier. It's like, man, I got to do everything that I'm teaching, or it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not that I got to sit and do like the meditation every single day. Like I know what meditation get me, but it's like every once in a while I do got to go in there and do it, because it's like, it's yeah, it's so simple, man. And it's when I'm going through the biggest, like if I'm in like a shit spot, like if I'm a deep place in the shadow where I'm working through like a big one, like something's coming up, it's like, okay, just do the things you tell everybody to do all the time. It's like, find your breath, just find your breath. Okay, you find your sense here. Okay, I know I can get through this, this has already happened. Or it's like, I've already gone through shit before, you know. You just find these same rules that you use in every single spot. It's like, and it's just, it's so simple. It's so simple once you kind of get into it, man. It's so, and it's, we make it so hard sometimes.
Two very personal experience. I asked you what you were going through, and I said I had some to share. Again, the one, just for anyone who jumps in halfway through, is I was literally watching my own streams the other day for pretty much the first time. Like I don't watch any of it. I assume that it's good, and I assume I've done my best. I assume that we're doing our best, and I'll leave it at that. But when I was doing it, I had the anxiety come up of like, this is so vulnerable, some of this sharing, that people could very well use this against me. And I kind of just took a breath and I was like, yes, that is possible. It's even probable on a long-term solution. Like in other words, if we're talking about 10, 20 years into the future, people are upset with everybody for all sorts of reasons. So that wouldn't be surprising to me if someone took my own clips and was like, after I've grown beyond something, been like, see. But I feel like I feel like that was a moment to be present, to accept that it is possible, to prepare for the fact that if it is going to happen, that I'm still going to be okay, to look around to the things that I do have, like love and connection with people, to look towards my own growth and celebrate it as well. Fuck, man, like if I take where I was to where I am, and imagine that trend continues, then doing my best, like we're always stepping forward. And then the second thing that I was able to use presencing on is intimacy issues that I have. And I know Lily's probably watching this right now. I go on about this quite a bit, but for me, it's really potent because if it's mentionable, it's manageable. I've never been able to speak about them so clearly. And not clearly as in I understand, oh, it came from here when I was a kid and my ex-partner said this to me, so I feel this way.
Right.
That part's actually kind of falling away. And it's just this core of a little bit of pain that I feel sometimes in my heart and my stomach. And rather than having to try and heal it or fix it, I've actually been like, this is who I am. I have had experiences. I am this field right now in this present moment that has this. And it's not like I'm resigning to that, because I'm not saying this is who I'll always be. I'm just saying this is who I am right now, and this is my experience. It includes some numbness in my heart sometimes, some numbness in my heart center so I can't feel as strongly, and some anxiety in my tummy. And what I'm finding, though, is that being that open with myself, having it be mentionable, having it be manageable, I'm able to actually work through it a little bit. And it's not work through it as in I found a healed state, so here I am forever. It's okay. It's okay to be a bit messy. I love when my partner can be a bit messy too. And here we are both sitting here in a state of openness of, wow, something feels a little bit off. I'm not sure what to say about that. But then in not trying to fix it or not trying to come to any conclusions or not trying to achieve anything, we end up both just being honest with each other, and not even honest like this is a deep, dark secret, but honest just like, right now, I also feel like there's something in my throat. And right now, I feel actually relaxed. Even though we're having this situation, suddenly I feel relaxed. Just being honest with the moment as it progresses and not trying to do anything about it. And it is fucking phenomenal how potent that is in terms of transformation. Like I just can't express it any other way, that by being that real, not even the real where it's like we're making up a big story of it, just the realness of what's happening right now, things start to move and things start to change. And it
takes it like a level of safety to be able to be in that place, and a level of and permission to be in that place. You know what I mean? You both got to give each other permission to be there. And then once you do that, you got to practice safety. You know what I mean? So the fact that you can, I can say this really mundane thing, but because this is what I'm feeling. I'm not trying to fluff it up. I'm not trying to hide it. I'm just here it is. You know what I mean? And it's like, once you guys, sounds like you've established that with each other, then it's like, man, the doors can come off of like the potential of communication. Because like I was talking with my roommate the other night, it's like communication really rarely ever truly happens in the way that we really mean it to happen. Because it's like, I'm saying these words out of my mouth right now, I have a preconceived idea of what I'm trying to say, but because of who I am, it might come out in a certain way. And because of who you are, you might hear it in a whole other different way. So what my original intention was to communicate to what the end product was of what you're thinking and feeling now because of it, it's like that communication is like so much more is happening, you know what I mean? So giving yourselves permission to be so present, you can cut through all those layers and really truly understand and communicate on a deeper level, I think. And that's man, it's like, imagine how many relationships have just gone to the very end, and there was no real communication, deep communication in certain ways. You know, people just kept saying the same script, even though there's something beautiful in that, in a way, you know, to like commit to anything and just go for it. But like, it's like, oh, I'm a husband, so I only can do this and that and this, you know what I mean? And then, you know, there's no real, that realness isn't always there, you know? And I think that's a part of what everybody's feeling right now. Is they're kind of sick. It's like, where's this, you know, we're kind of stuck in all these cycles, and it's like, where's this genuineness in life, you know? And it's just being true and being able to communicate, I think, comes to the core of that, whether it's at our work or wherever, man, just being able to be free and talk and laugh. That's why you don't need to exactly find your purpose in life. Just be you, man. Just be you, as pure as you can be in all that you're doing.
That
And it's
whole
like,
thing, purpose finding, is like a fucking old venture on itself, isn't it? Right?
yeah,
Because like, if you really follow what is my purpose, in the end, you'll find out it's just to do whatever you're doing right now.
yeah,
So like, it might, obviously those things though create long-term successes. The seeds that we plant right now will create something long-term that can be very beautiful. But all of the trying to find purpose, I've found personally, just makes people fucking depressed.
oh man, yeah, yeah. I like the idea. I think Anthony made a really nice video about this. I meant to share it because he had it on private, or couldn't share it. But anyway, it was he was talking about how important it is to just go for a feeling, you know what I mean? Like, anything you want to do, anything you want to be, you can just kind of practice feeling, and not like faking it to make it even, but just familiarize yourself with the feeling. So it's like, you know what I mean? Instead of putting so much pressure on yourself to like do this thing, like I gotta accomplish this, I gotta accomplish that, you know? It's like goals can set you up to like to fall, you know what I mean? Whereas if you just get used to a feeling of what it could be, you know, like, because anything is possible, like it is, you know? And it's like, talking about our project with We Need Money For, it's like, people are doing this all around the world with so many more shittier projects than what we're doing. Money's just being thrown left and right, but it's because our consciousness hasn't been in that playing field yet. We can't fully project ourselves there yet, you know? So it's like, but if we had been in this ball game all along, I'm sure this, where we need to be, would have been already rolling a long time ago, you know?
That's the other, very interesting thing, is that if you haven't experienced something, it feels like it's completely foreign. Like, here's where I exist and here's where that thing exists. But then once you actually experience it once, you just have it forever. That's one thing I find, like, maybe not for, like, I don't want to make a blanket
You're
statement.
good at that. You're better at that than most, I find. You're better at being able to, like, okay, I felt this once, I have it now. You're pretty good at that, man. Like, sometimes I'll be like, oh, I felt it, but I need to kind of go back, you know what I mean? It's like, so like, you're good at that one, man, I find.
Well, it's become essentially what the law of attraction was meant to accomplish back in the day. So when I was learning the law of attraction, it was more like, I'm going to go out there and get some shit, you know, like, I'm going to go out there and get some shit. But what I use it for now mostly is to, when something happens, to be able to say, this is the experience that I'm having, and why wouldn't it happen some more? It's like that.
Right.
Why wouldn't it happen some more? Why wouldn't a professional opportunity be given if it's already been given once? Why wouldn't it be given again, right? And you and I did so much of that when we were moving the meditation work out into the hospitals and schools and universities and stuff. There was like, we have to kind of fake it till we make it. In other words, get in there and be like, this is just what we do. And then suddenly it is just what we do, you know, like.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's the thing that I find so interesting, is that the people who really lead our world and really control our world, it's like big business people and things like that. It's like, a lot of those people are just the most brazen of people. The ones who are just like, here's my product, here's the thing, give me money. People are like, oh, okay, you know what I mean? So it's like, sometimes that's kind of how it is, you know, where like, whereas like people like us sometimes are like, it's like 90% of people who should be out there being that way aren't, you know what I mean? It's the people who are actually really talented, who sell themselves really short. I'm not saying that we're super talented, but it's like so many people I know who are so much better business people or have such a good talent, but they sell themselves short. It's the people who are, you know what I mean, in the business world at least, that really, you know, push ahead.
They say that about politicians as well, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
The politicians we have are the ones that are like, I know, I'll get the power for myself, and then I'll always have everyone.
Yeah.
And then the people that are like, well, it would be nice to just, you know, help each other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, we don't listen to them, you know. Yeah, that's wild.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that also goes to show the way that our system has been set up. And I feel like a part of the bigger shifts in our society right now are going to be to help create avenues for people that might not be as brazenly confident to come out and to be able to perform their talents or to be able to bring their gifts to the world or to be able to start their businesses. And that is where a socialistic and capitalistic component can come together.
Right.
If we can create programs that, and not ones that again like that are all cheesy and stupid, but like programs where we're helping each other find our voice, we're helping each other find our passion. And if we're moving towards like a universal basic income society, we're going to have a bunch of those because we don't want people to become latent. When I was speaking with Anthony, I mentioned that and he was like, well, I'm creating one right now. I was like, yeah, sick.
Yeah, man. It's I think we're seeing a little bit like during the COVID times, people are getting into art again. People are doing stuff that they haven't done in forever. You know what I mean, man? Like I think we're seeing, and especially with some of the relief payments in Canada, we're seeing some potential of what a universal. It's like a big run. I see in an article. It's like it's a test run in universal basic income. You know what I mean? So it's like
that's what it feels like, and it feels like that here in Australia too, and I think in a lot of places in the world. And I hope that it just is good enough that we decide, hey, this is actually really important and it's really valuable to our lives and we're feeling more fulfilled. And if we're feeling more fulfilled, we're generally going to be nicer to each other. If we're feeling more fulfilled, we're going to generally have inspiration to want to do nice things and to create projects and all that kind of stuff too. Whatever we grew up in, the idea is that you're supposed to struggle. And if you don't, people are kind of like mad at you. Like there's actually a thing where like if you don't struggle, they're like, well, I struggled, so you should struggle. And like that chain of pain, that chain of karma and pain or whatever, I can't understand it because I've been that way myself. But after going through these experiences, I can't understand staying there because as a society, we need to move from those things.
Yeah, 100%, man, 100%. And I think the universal basic income does that. You know what I mean? It takes that away. It gives everybody like a strong footing. You know what I mean? And it's like, and then like it allows you. It's like I was talking. Sorry, let's rewind. I was talking with a friend a bit lately, a lot about like the brain and the nervous system. So imagine if you're out there like working a job, living paycheck to paycheck. God forbid you got kids. You know what I mean? And it's like even if you got a good job, it's like you're putting a lot of your time and energy going to work. Work can be stressful. But again, if you're not in that kind of upper echelon, which most people aren't, you're just living it one step at a time. So your nervous system is constantly in like almost threat mode. It's almost like constantly like, we need to know, I got to keep going. I got to, you know what I mean? It's like this could happen, that could happen, this, you know, and it's like this close to like kind of tipping at any point. So people are on edge so much just to provide, just to try to survive, just to give food on the table and pay for the bills. Like, so if we could take them out of that state, not only are we basically, hey, here's your support system, we're giving you this, you'll relax a bit because you feel safe, you know what I mean? And then you'll interact with people because in a safer way because you're not in this defense mode all the time. So it's like there's exponential potential with a universal basic income, you know what I mean? It's like it takes you out of this fight or flight mode neurologically. And if you have some of these basic needs met, you know, so, and then you can start to climb up the pyramid, I was like, climb up the pyramid, Maslow's period, yeah.
I think you actually swim or crawl up the period. Those all sound.
It all depends how she's coming out,
But yeah, no, that's a really good point, is that this is not just a philosophical meandering. It's not like an idealism or a utopian, wouldn't it be cool if. We're talking about the science of our nervous system, the science of our body and our brains, and that when we are in flight or flight, we do not have the presence, love, attention to give to the people around us or ourselves. And
Mhm.
what I'm noticing again, because right now, because of this whole COVID thing and because of where we're at, both Lily and I are just relaxing with the baby right now. Not relaxing, I'm doing this work, but we're not at a 9 to 5. And because of that, the amount of presence that we get to have for both of the children is it's a lot better. Like it's a lot better. It's really quite amazing to experience that myself, because in my wounding, my family did their absolute best, but family is hard. Family is hard. Kids are hard. And I have moments, oh my fuck, do I have moments with that sassy little cat where I get so fucking annoyed and frustrated, and we have little blowouts sometimes where we fight with each other and stuff. And then it's funny because immediately afterwards I'm like, oh, if I didn't react to her reaction, or if she didn't react to my reaction, this all would have been fine. And so I'm just every single day just becoming a better parent. And at the same time, I've said this so many times, I'm not trying to be a perfect parent. And so I know that it's going to include relapses. It's going to include pain bodies that come up and flare at each other. And it's funny because the friction of that has also created further growth for both me and for Luna and for Lily too. But I swear to God, whenever me and Luna get into it, Lily's just kind of sitting there, just like,
I could feel that that's the way to be. She's probably like, yeah, I see. Yeah. I'm watching it. Oh, what's your comeback, Josh? What are you gonna say? I remember like you kind of did that one time. It was like me and Mo are like one of our only tiffs me and Mo ever had at the center, and it was just like two Aries that are just like the two heads had just been like lowered, and it just got. I remember you just got to step it back and be like, what's gonna happen here? Yeah.
Actually, I remember that to bring up what that was, because that was one of the like a pride points for our experience altogether. We made a firm decision when we created the center that it was meant to be the center between groups of people and philosophies and political stances. So we were calling it the center because obviously it was an innuendo on find your center, like be in your center of yourself, but then also to be the center. And I don't even mean a centrist either, because that's its own complete thing now. A centrist is a person who's essentially neutral on everything. We wanted to be the center as in to include and integrate the viewpoints and the things that we were finding in different groups. And so it came time for that big ass election too. Was that the big one with Justin Trudeau that first time? I think so.
Yeah, Megan Leslie
So
was running here.
This is Stephen Harper, year 11, 12 or something like that.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Just dragging on like fucking crazy with this guy. And so we were like, we got to do something about it. And our friend wanted to put up an NDP sign. So that's the left-leaning party in Canada. And I remember being like, yeah, cool. And then you were like, oh, we made like a really strict thing about not doing that, hey? And I was like, oh, yeah, that's true, hey? Because if we put up a left-leaning thing, that means that maybe
and I supported the left. Like, that was who I was going to vote for.
Sure.
Yeah,
You're well, to make Grant's position clear, you believe voted NDP, but that was Megan Leslie at the time, right? But
yeah.
But then the idea was if we put up a left-leaning sign and get really, really intense like that, then it is very, very possible. Just one second. We got to, hey, loving the background of the center. Do you mean like the deer in behind Grant? That's what
This is my room. This is my room.
please clarify, Aaron. But the idea is if we put up a sign supporting a left party, it's going to make, let's picture a lawyer, which we wanted to be open to lawyers and doctors and tax agents and everything that might be voting conservative for purely fiscal reasons. We don't want to exclude them. Doesn't mean I agree with what they're saying, but I don't want to exclude them from our particular project that we had made. And what happened was it ended up being a big thing where it was like a big, like probably the biggest fight that ever happened that what didn't involve me anyway. And it was like at the intensity going back and forth. And again, two Aries people, male and female, very, very Aries oriented, just having a full fucking go. And I remember being like, wait, why don't we put up a sign for every single one? Let's go put it up all on the lawn. So we ended up putting every single person, the Green Party, the Left Party, the Bloc Québécois, I think. I don't even know if that one exists where we are, but put them all up and we just said, do your research and vote. Yeah. Hey, do your research. That's even funnier.
Yeah,
'Cause
my
that's such
my
a
cousin was literally running in the NDP, like in Halifax, and she saw that, and she was like, "Oh, thanks for supporting democracy." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's cool." Because my
yeah.
whole thing is like you said it, man. It's like, yeah, we're all pretty well left leaning anyway. We're all doing pretty progressive stuff, teaching like meditation and all this stuff at our little center there. But it's like, what if somebody was conservative who could benefit from our things, but because they saw an NDP sign, they wouldn't want to come into our place. So it was like, we have things that help people. So it was like, I didn't want to limit our services to those people, potentially. That was all.
You
That
know,
was
the
all my
worst
thing.
part is we never even had a conservative sign up because
They
we
never gave
tried.
us
We had to talk. What was his name? What was
Oh,
the
I
guy's
don't.
name? Remember, it was like oh man, he had this specific name. We were always joking. But anyways, um, we tried so hard. We got signs from every person. You have to actually get them from the different people. And I
Yeah.
petitioned, man. I called the conservative thing, left messages, wrote emails. I was like, man, this is actually, you're not making this easy for us, trying to make a sign for everybody out here. Carver, something Carver.
I don't know, man. Yeah.
I can't
It
remember.
might have
But
been. I don't know. Yeah.
Aaron just said I never got to go to the center, so it's cool to hear these stories. And I think that was a point of what we're talking
Oh,
about.
to see the background of the center. I get you. I guess you're talking about the deer behind.
Well, you know what it is, Aaron. You spelt center the Australian way, and the Canadian way, but we actually made center the American way, which is ER. And so I just got confused because I was like looking for the center.
Look at the
Um,
center.
so here we are at time, typically, by the way, man. No
Yeah.
particular rush or anything, but is there anything else that you wanted to kind of talk about before we do a wrap today?
No, man. I'm done.
You're sleepy. It's time for you to
No, I'm not
go the
serious.
fuck to bed,
No,
mate.
no. Yeah, man. No, I felt like that was a nice little one. Just like I don't feel anything too pressing right now. I don't. Is there anything? What about you, man? Anything else you want to say?
Great, man. I love this. And like I said, so now I've got them all on my computer. So this is going to be Grant 3 in my computer.
Nice.
So we'll be able to, I can think of 5 or 6 times a year where we got on a good flow. We'll be able to take those and make them into cool bites. And having watched Midnight Gospel, now my brain's working differently. Not that I want to copy what they're doing, but I'm recognizing that the audio from these things could also be used for anything and in a positive way. So it could be that, for example, when we're talking about we're talking about the top heavy structure, there could be a little cartoon of like a structure and then the bottom getting weaker and weaker and then eventually boop, it toppling over a Jenga blocks or whatever, right? Like, so just recognizing that this raw footage, I just want to keep doing it because it means something to me, but that it later can be turned into something so much bigger. And
So much
seeing
potential, man. Yeah, it's
and
like
seeing Duncan Trussell, his podcast, just very, very quickly, the person that made it, Midnight Gospel, is the Adventure Time creator taking Duncan Trussell's podcast and making a cartoon out of it. So that's what it actually is.
whoa. That's what it actually is.
That's what it is. So Duncan
That's
Trussell
pretty
just did a
neat.
regular ass podcast and he was just doing his podcast like normal. Then they took the conversations from those and made a cool cartoon. So what I recognized is that I actually didn't like Duncan Trussell's podcast. Not that I didn't like it. He had amazing conversations, but his voice kind of annoyed me. And
He's kind of particular.
yeah, and it went on for like 3-4 hours, these podcasts. Like I was just like, fuck man, I can't imagine having the time. But all this dude was doing was what his heart felt was true. And he was continually doing these conversations with people. Then somebody took it and made it into probably the most popular cartoon in existence right now. And actually the transmissions of consciousness through those conversations is fucking wild as well. So I just, it's really opened my mind to recognize that I just have to keep doing what I'm doing and that there are so many other options as to what can be done with that work afterwards.
Right. That's beautiful, man. It's like anything, right? It's like an idea. You have an idea, then it grows and it just keeps, it's like a, not a man, what's the thing when it keeps building a pattern from it? What are those things called? You know what I'm talking about? It's a fractal. Every idea, everything we're doing is fractal. And it's like we give up sometimes too early in the fractal process, and because the fractal takes a funny turn.
The amount of half fractals I've put out there in the world before I started to, and this is for me, it's the stability of family that's making me do these every single day. Right. I actually have like an incredible ground to be able to do this every single day, so there's a little more behind it. But instead of selling myself out, which is the tendency, and my actual feeling is I should sell myself out, my partner is like, do not sell yourself out. Continue to do what you're doing, and we'll be able to work with that. So I feel very thankful to be in that as well. We did have 3 comments. from Aaron. We said, I love this convo. You guys are lovely. I'm happy to sit with you and put together a plan for stuff like that if you want to, Josh. Uh, comms, communication strategy is my jam. Well, absolutely. We'll talk about that, Aaron. And Aaron's going to be on this podcast again Wednesday at this time exactly, actually. So, or Tuesday night for you guys. And we also have one from Janice McDonald. Just said, you guys are great. Love your energy. Thank you so much for coming on. Love. Appreciate that a lot. I love you, Grant. And we shall talk soon.
All right, man. Have a good one.